So, any delay, I would like to invite today's training with Mohammad Hassan, who is a professor at UTKSNet. Sir, please, over to you. You can share your screen right now.
Assalamualaikum everyone. I think I'm audible to everyone, right? जी आवाज आ रही है?
जी सर, आपकी आवाज जरा क्लियर नहीं है। क्या आपकी आवाज है?
जी हमारी आवाज कुछ बेहतर है।
So, बस noise in your background.
Okay, I think just wait a minute. I'm changing my headphone.
Okay.
What's your name? From the person from SMEDA.
Ji, my name is Harun Chokar. I'm a renewable energy officer here.
Okay, thank you. अब आवाज ठीक आ रही है हारून साहब?
जी, अब ठीक आ रही है आपकी आवाज सर।
अब ठीक आ रही है. Okay, we can continue. I think I will directly share my screen.
Yeah.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम everyone. जी आवाज अब ठीक है?
जी सर, आपकी आवाज ठीक है।
My name is Dr. Mohammad Hassan and I am working as Associate Professor at Energy System Engineering Department of US Pakistan Center for Advanced Studies in Energy at NUST. आपने तो सुना ही है ना? बैठो बैठना है. Yes, I have changed my headphone. I think now it will be clear. अब ठीक है, आवाज क्लियर है बिलाल साहब? जी शौकत साहब, अब क्लियर है आवाज? ठीक है?
जी जी सर, आपकी आवाज ठीक है। काइंडली यू कैन स्टार्ट एंड अपनी जो स्क्रीन है उसको स्लाइड शो पे शेयर कर दीजिएगा।
Okay. My name is, I will first give a brief introduction of myself. I am Dr. Mohammad Hassan, working as Associate Professor at Energy System Engineering, USPCAS, NUST. And I have completed my PhD, my Master's and PhD in Bioenvironmental and Energy Engineering from Nanjing Agriculture University back in 2017. After that, I have joined this center, this prestigious center of energy in Pakistan in 2017. And since 6 years, I'm working in this center. And my area of research is basically waste to energy, bioenergy production, waste management, and manure management, especially biogas and bioethanol productions, biodiesel production from different agriculture-based straw. First of all, I want to go through some of the main topics that I will cover, like the energy generation from waste resources. First is the type of waste material used for energy, animal manure, agriculture crop residue, forest residue, municipal solid waste, and sewage sludge. So these are the basically different type of waste streams which can be utilized for efficient bioenergy generation and efficient bioenergy production. Okay, I think we have all 14 participants, and all of you, if you have any questions, yeah, I think you can write down your questions, and at the end of presentation, we will make a good discussion, a value-added discussion to this presentation, I think. जी शौकत साहब, ठीक है? ऐसे ही ठीक रहेगा ना? आई थिंक एंड पे हम क्वेश्चन आंसर्स का सेशन कर सकते हैं, या दरमियान में भी हमें करना चाहिए?
जी सर, आई थिंक हम एंड के ऊपर ही क्वेश्चन आंसर सेशन करेंगे।
ओके ओके, ठीक है, गुड. So this is basically a term that is called biofuel and bioenergy. So what is the basically biofuel? Any fuel or whose energy is obtained through a process of biological carbon fixation process. This is basically a process of carbon fixation, and like a chemistry process that converts carbon dioxide into a hydrocarbon molecules. that is a source of energy, and that would be found in a living organism. In this process occurs is a living organism, and it is referred to as the biological carbon fixation process. So basically, this is a type of process. Biofuels basically are those type of fuels which have been obtained from some resources that which was biological, or which has some biological fixation process. For example, going through the basic concept of carbon fixation, as all of us know that very well, the trees and all the trees and all the agriculture waste and straw, they basically utilize carbon dioxide to produce glucose, and in the form of in the form of sunlight during the photosynthesis process, and they produce carbohydrates and water, and they also exit oxygen in this process by utilizing sunlight. So all the trees and all the living organisms which will be utilized to produce bioenergy, they are basically carbon fixation. They are basically fixed carbon from the atmosphere. So this is the excellent concept of producing bioenergy, because in this process, carbon dioxide will be utilized. And similarly, going to this concept also, like biofuels, they basically emit carbon dioxide, and they also emit carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is increasing. And nowadays, due to this is the phenomena because greenhouse gas emissions, and ultimately these gases are accumulating in the environment, and accumulating in the environment, and this carbon dioxide concentration of carbon dioxide is going higher and higher day by day. And because of this, we are facing global warming, and we are facing a lot of multi-scale issues. And if we harvest, or if we grow a lot of abundant biomass, they will utilize this carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So basically, they fix this carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and they will also act as carbon dioxide sequestration concepts, basically. And we can utilize this extra bulk produced biomass for the production of biofuels. So on the whole, this system will become very sustainable. This is the some of the simple processes that is being utilized to produce biofuels and bioenergy. Okay. First of all, if we see the biomass resources, oil-bearing plants, agriculture crops residue, woody biomass, industrial waste, municipal solid waste, these all type of resources can be utilized possibly for production of biofuels. And if we are talking about the supply systems, that is harvesting, collection, handling, and storage, through the different process of conversions like chemical conversions, which is transesterification, and we produce biodiesel by this process and bioethanol by this process. Physical and chemical extraction, also they called physiochemical extractions, and by this process solid fuels, wood pellets, and charcoal can be produced. If we talk about the biochemical fermentation process, then through these conversions, bioethanol can be produced. And the most important is thermochemical gasification and pyrolysis process, and by which the syngas can be produced. And all of this type of bioenergy can be in situ directly utilized, or it can be used to produce electrical power and further transmitted to the grids and further transmitted to the source or industry for which this process is going to work. Similarly, the basic overview of bioethanol production and some of the biofuels production like bioethanol, biogas, biodiesel, biofuels, biohydrogen. So different feedstocks and their different conversion technologies are there in this picture. The most important one in this slide is biohydrogen. And nowadays, a lot of work is being done to produce biohydrogen from sustainable biomass resources, because hydrogen is an excellent fuel, and nowadays it is utilized in every sector of our life, like in transportation, like in space lifts, like in industrial processes. Hydrogen is excellent fuel because it burns very smoothly, and it produces almost zero carbon dioxide concentrations. This is some of the biorefinery concept. Like if you have biomass resources and primary fractionation and liquefaction process, through which hydrocarbon rich fraction and lignin rich fraction, this type of fuels can be deoxygenized, and after the process of co-pyrolysis and conventional petroleum refinery, these type of fuels can be directly utilized by the chemical industries or by any subsidiary universities. In the second process, you can also use that this produced biofuel can be utilized in conversion process, can be utilized in co-conventional petroleum processes, and can be also utilized in energy production process. In last month, I have one of my colleague has visited Atak refinery in Rawalpindi, and he told me that Atak refinery has an excellent system of producing hydrogen, and this hydrogen is being utilized in petroleum refining processes, and they also produce some type of electrical power, a significant amount of electrical power by utilizing this hydrogen. So scope of hydrogen from biomass resources nowadays is very much expanding in all over the world, all over the planet. Biomass also can be utilized except producing power or except producing extraction of chemicals, biodiesel, sugar fermentation, ethanol, lactic acid, CNGs and glycerines, SNGs. Except that, different type of side products, value added products can also be achieved from biomass, like proteins, vitamins, fragrances, pharmaceuticals. So these type of substances also being derived from biomass nowadays, which are the value-added products and side products of the chemical liquid fractionation process of biofuel industry. These are some of the technical criteria of energy recycling, for example, consumed availability, carbon residue, sulfur contents, viscosity, density, and other things. And some of the financial criteria, some of the basically environmental criteria and socioeconomic criteria. We will going to cover all these areas in this presentation. And from the environmental concerns, the biofuel productions, they reduce a significant amount of the carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide, nitrous oxides, nitrous dioxide, and trioxides. Similarly, sulfur dioxide and sulfur trioxide, which are the main causes of acid rain and acid deposition in the atmosphere also. Similarly, if we talk about this is a very beautiful presentation of the energy-based concept for the low carbon future. It has been derived from IEA, International Energy Agency, which they have making some type of forecasting from starting from 2010 to 2050, and they have some of the other transportation industry. But this is basically a picture, a baseline scenario picture that businesses and no adaptation of the new energy and climate related policies by 2050, and they have significantly highlighted that industrial sector up to 2050, industrial sector will consume 16% of the electrical power. And sorry, this industrial sector will emit 16% of the total emitted greenhouse gases. That is, and basically they considered one greenhouse gas, which was the carbon dioxide, and its concentration is measured in gigatons. So total CO2 emissions will be significantly increase in future. So at this point, we have to think about some of the policies or some of the new concepts that we can reduce the carbon dioxide footprint of the industrial sector, as well as the transportation sector also is very important. You can see it will be expanded up to 23%, and power sector, it will also be going to 32%, which is very high. And nowadays, a lot of work is being done to reduce the carbon footprint of the electrical power industry. But unfortunately, industrial sector and transportation sector, which were also a major sector of these CO2 emissions, and we also have to think about this, and we have to make some design and policies that how we are going to reduce this carbon footprint in 2050. Some of the biomass resources, and you can see in blue lines, this is industrial, electrical, and public transports, that they are using the different type of oils and different type of energy, that traditional biomass that accounts for over 800 million tons of oil equivalent per year of energy. So on this planet, we have huge resources of biomass in the form of agriculture waste, agriculture waste, agriculture straw, and many other things. So we can utilize this huge amount of biomass resources to produce high amount of energy. Global biomass potential, we have a very high global biomass potential around the world. And again, this picture has been forecasted, and that a considerable potential of low risk biomass sources has been assessed, like biomass for biofuel production, that is 65 aerosol, would become entirely from residue waste and sustainable growing energy crops. If we grow all these crops sustainably, So we can also possibly make all these resources, and we can efficient utilization of these biomass resources. Now we can produce a lot of energy, and we can reduce carbon footprint to a significant amount. That is also the basic need of this time nowadays. IEA, this is, I think, yes. That is a biofuel roadmap defined by the IEA, and that global biofuel supply that grows from 2.5 gigajoule to 32 in 2050. Utilization of biomass and biofuels nowadays is a very emerging industry, and it is increasing to a significant amount these days. But again, there are also many problems, many complications related with this industry. We will also discuss the economic consideration of this concept that is coming in the coming slides. We will discuss this in very detail. This is the some of the processes that I was discussing, like anaerobic digestion that basically produce biogas, and also some of the different type of biofuels. So now we are going to just have an overview that which type of these biofuels are and how they are basically produced. So if we just focus on this picture, that we can see if we have animal manure, and this manure can be directly utilized in biogas generators or biogas digesters. So methane is being generated. This methane can be directly utilized for heating and for cooking in household purposes. And if we do not use this methane for this household purpose, we can also install a hybrid scale power plant, hybrid scale storage generator that will directly convert this biogas into a useful form of electrical energy. And this electrical energy, of course, can be transmitted to grid and or can be utilized directly to any type of purpose or any type of use. These are some of the anaerobic digestion. Also, this is some excellent example. For example, if cattle manure is available and if we feed in anaerobic digestion plant, we can directly use this gas for cooking. We can use for lighting. We can use for heating. We can use for electricity generation, and also can be used for fuel. And the remaining residue of this material of this anaerobic digestion plant can be directly utilized as a organic farm waste manure or kitchen and garden waste, that is also called toilet products and excreta feces, cattle dung manure. So these type of excellent feedstocks can be fed into anaerobic digestion plant. So this is a sustainable system. Cattle manure directly utilized to produce biogas, and biogas has multiple uses. And if we directly utilize this cattle manure on the farms, it will also emit a lot of carbon dioxide and methane, which is basically a very severe case for the greenhouse gas emissions, and that leads to ultimately high risk of the GHGs. So the second concept about this biofuel production was the gasification. Gasification-based power plants nowadays are becoming very famous, especially in Europe and in China. They are utilizing these gasification-based power plants. So basically, this is basically a chamber in which high pressure and high temperature is maintained around about 800 to 1000 degrees centigrade. Biomass is being fed in this chamber, and ultimately in the last process, that was the biogas, so methane was produced. But in this process, this gasification process, syngas is being produced. And this syngas can be directly sent for the cleaning system. After cleaning, this syngas directly utilized by the engine fuel, and electrical power can be produced directly. This is an in situ process and do not require a very complex scale engineering in this process. So this is very famous, especially for the SMEs, small medium enterprises, and bulk commercial scale industrial processes. This can be utilized. Gasification is very famous. This is also a continuation of the gasification processes in which fuel in feed. This fuel basically is pulverized coal. It can also be a coal. It can also be a biomass. It can also be a pellets. And they directly sent to this section, which is a gasification section. And after oxidizers, this syngas will be produced, and syngas will be directly clarified by these scrubbers, and directly it can be used through the boilers. And boiler is an excellent example of any chemical based or any process-based industry. Boilers are there. Boilers are the main and primary requirement of any industry. And this steam can be generated by the utilization of the boilers, and steam directly is an efficient source of energy, is a carrier of excellent carrier of energy is steam, and this steam can be utilized further in any type of processes that basically needs. So the gasification process, electrical power can be directly utilized, and directly burning of syngas also can be take place. If it is required, then syngas directly can be utilized as a burning fuel, because syngas basically is a mixture of carbon monoxide and hydrogen. And similarly, this syngas can be directly burned in the boiler to make steam, and steam can be utilized for any type of industrial process. The third excellent form of the biofuel, which is called bioenergy, which is called biodiesel, and biodiesel production from different type of feedstocks, like from non-edible oil seeds, and from also they can be produced from edible resources. The first collection of the seeds, like if we grow jatropha, that is an excellent source of the biodiesel production in Pakistan and India. There are also many commercial scale biodiesel production plants are working, and they utilize jatropha, and they harvest the seed of jatropha, and then they extract the oil from this jatropha. And after this extraction of oil, they directly utilize transesterification process, and through the transesterification process, they extract and they produce biodiesel, which can be directly utilized in the engines of automobiles and vehicle industry, especially in the big vehicles like trucks and buses. This biodiesel can be utilized as an alternate of diesel. This is also a system schematics of the waste treatment facility, like municipal solid waste treatment. If we have municipal solid waste, then how we can extract bioenergy from this municipal solid waste? This concept also termed as a waste to energy plant. And in this section, there are many processes involved, like incineration can also be involved. Biogas plant also can be involved. Gasification system also a part of this waste to energy treatment facility. So first, all the waste is being collected, then it is harvested, and then organic segregation and inorganic segregation of this waste is being separated. Organic section will be sent to the biogas plant, and inorganic treatment section will be directly sent to incinerators or pyrolyzers, by which energy can be produced, and the remaining bottom ash, this remaining coal, will directly can be expelled. So this is a little complex process. So it depends that which type of sources or which type of municipal solid waste is there, organic fractions or inorganic fractions, or for example, there are also some steel based like cans and other bottles are there. So the segregation is the main primary requisite of this waste to treatment facility. And also if segregation is higher, then ultimately cost of the system will also be high. Also, this is another picture of the waste to treatment facility, like material recovery, hydrogenization, and energy recovery from the system. And this type of energy, like waste to energy that is being produced, it can also be utilized by some industry. It can also be utilized to produce some agricultural crops over the farm. It can also be utilized to utilize in some industrial or commercial uses. But it depends on which type of resources are there. For example, which type of resources, which type of energy, and which type of fuels are there. So ultimately their utilization is depending on them, these resources. This is also basically application of the anaerobic bioreactor, but this is basically landfills. Landfills application. So how landfilling, this concept is obsolete nowadays, and nobody is going to work on landfills because landfills has a lot of disadvantages. In this, if we are going to understand the basic concept of landfills, so first of all, a big ditch is being dug on the surface of earth, and in different piles, in different sections of the earth, the different lagoons were made, and this solid waste or municipal solid waste is being added. And by the production of this organic fraction of this solid, methane gas is being produced with the passage of time, and methane gas is directly coming to these sections, and it can be collected by the terms of hydro biogas generators. electricity can be produced. But of course, the system is very complex and very costly. The one of the main and big disadvantage is the landfill leachate, and landfill leachate that is being collected at the bottom is can be you can see these type of streams is basically a groundwater that is basically present under 100 feet or 200 feet of the soil beneath the soil surface, and this groundwater is being accumulated, is being polluted by the addition of this leachate. So this leachate contains very harmful species of heavy metals and non-heavy metals, which are very toxic for the environment and toxic for the groundwater. So basically, groundwater contamination is being done in this process. So system is very costly. It is very complex. It is not environmental friendly. So nowadays, it is not being viewed. It is not being observed by many in waste management agencies around the world. This is also some of the plants and some of the environmental management system agencies that different type of pyrolyzer, different type of things are there, and different type of processes can be utilized. Basic concept of circular economy, basically how biogas, how this type of things can be contributed in circular economy. So basically a concept of circular economy is very famous these days, and it is coming in every type of industrial and commercial sector these days. So basically what is circular economy is basically, for example, if there is one industry and they are producing cotton based chemicals, cotton based cloths, so this basically some type of cotton which is being wasted or discarded, that type of waste is the resource of second industry. For example, somebody is making pampers or somebody is making some other things, and the waste of one industry can be a resource of second industry. So this concept is basically called circular economy, and it also contributes reform, reuse. You can see reuse, reform, reduce, reuse, and recycle. So all these five processes will cumulatively make a concept of circular economy, in which recycling and life treatment, collection, consumption, transportation, production, in situ production and transportation. So then the process will come at final stage, that is called with minimum waste. So this process is called circular economy because the waste of one industry is a resource of for the second industry, and then the waste of second industry is a resource for the third industry. So basically, at the final destination, we have reached with minimum waste production. This is basically called circular economy. Similarly, another picture that is being depicted the basic concept of circular economy. For example, we have energy and material input, and then we go for production, then we go for distribution, and then use, then disposal. But at disposal, again, we have a lot of waste material that can be reused, that can be remanufactured, refurbished, that can be recycled to the especially the first input feeding material. So waste and emission leakage are minimum, kept as minimum level. So this is also basic concept of circular economy. Now we are coming towards the economics of biofuel production. For example, economics of biofuel production is very important, and if biofuels are not viable, if they are not economically viable, so they cannot be competed with in the alternate markets of it. For example, if we get petrol at 200 or 250 or 250 rupees per liter in Pakistan, and we are producing ethanol or we are producing diesel, which is being produced at 300 rupees per liter. So this fuel will not be economically viable. Nobody will going to purchase this biofuel. So the economics is very important. The rise in oil prices is the most important factor that boosting the competitiveness of alternative fuels. Feedstock costs are the most significant cost of biofuel production, and up to 40-50% of the corn-based ethanol. So here, one thing we need to make focus in our mind, that we should have the country which is working on bioenergy, or the country which needs to focus on biofuel production. It should have abundant resources of that type of energy crops or that type of resources. For example, EU is the leader of corn production in the world, and European Union is the have the main resources as rapeseed, and they have abundant rapeseed resources of the world, and they are producing about 80% of the biodiesel production around the world. For example, in Pakistan, if we don't have these primary resources, then we cannot prepare these type of fuels because they will not be economically viable because we don't have resources. If we have to import resources from some other countries, then also the system is very complex. And we have to go to the import duty, we have to go some tariffs, we have to count some taxes, and we have to count a lot of other things, and transportation of the things, storing, handling, and management. Of course, people are there, employments are there. So ultimately, cost of all the system will goes higher, and the fuels will not be economically viable. The ratio of crude oil prices to feedstocks offer a simple indicator of the competitiveness of biofuels made from the various feedstocks. The feedstock will be cheaper. Of course, system is very simple, and it will not be very complex. Then we can produce sustainable and economically viable biofuel. In the past, economies were very influenced by the subsidy contributions, but greatly due to the oil prices nowadays, we can see that a lot of international fluctuations, international market of the oil prices will make a significant impact on the life of on our lives even. Because if the petrol or gasoline or diesel price goes higher, then definitely we have to face a lot of problems. We have to face a lot of budget-related activities and problems. And Pakistan nowadays is facing severe issues of these economic crises. And these economic crises are basically being borne by the international fluctuations in the fossil fuel prices. So we have to understand what is the basic parity prices for various first generation feedstocks. So what are basically the parity prices? The parity prices for a fuel is that price for which a products become competitive in market. For example, as I told you earlier, if petrol is available in the market on 200 rupees per liter, and we are producing ethanol, which can be a substitute of petrol, but it is higher than 200 rupees per liter. So it will not be economically viable in the market. So this is the parity price. 200 rupees is the parity price. So we have to go beyond the parity price so that we can get a competitive fuel. In this picture, for example, we can see there are different feedstocks. For example, gasoline. You can see this is the slope line. This line is basically the gasoline production from different resources. That is cane here, cassava, mixed BTL synthetic fuel, and cane that is obtained from the Brazil, cassava, maize, and different the palm oil and some of the other agriculture crops. So we can see this is the ethanol production prices from different resources. And you can see here, this is the price of crude oil in US billion barrels per liter. So we can make a comparison of different type of bioethanol production from different resources. And we decide that which is the parity price for each product by utilizing a resource of special category. For example, if you are producing ethanol from maize, if you are producing ethanol from corn or from cassava, so what should be the minimum price for that production is basically the parity price. Here is also parity and break-even prices. And break-even prices, parity price is the measure of the crude oil at which particle feedstock becomes competitive for biofuel production. So the cheapest price for the resource should be there to make high comparative prices. Calculated very specific production and conversion environments as well as feedstock prices. Sensitive to US dollar exchange rate also because US dollar rate exchange rate is also making a lot of very complex situation for the economies nowadays. And this is different parity prices are based on average feedstock prices at nearly make over the sense to make a break-even price for the biofuel producers. Break-even prices basically are those prices at which profit and expenses of any industry, they becomes equal. Even the crude oil that how much biofuel produce and afford to pay for the feedstock, and comparing break-even prices with current prices for sugar, maize, and indicate the potential of further growth in biofuel production, but need to factor in the risk and uncertainty discount. So in next slide, we can see this are the competitiveness of biofuel that is under the different field scenarios. For example, these are the basically three different scenarios, and S1, S7, S9% represent the target for biofuel share of the transportation fuels. And this is the crude oil This is the gap in euros per liter that between the crude oil and biodiesel cost of production. This is basically a scenario produced from the result of France. In France, biodiesel production is also going there. So they basically make a beautiful and significant chart. For example, if we include 1% biodiesel production in industrial sector, if we utilize 7% biodiesel production in industrial sector, and if we using 9% biodiesel contribution in the industrial sector, so what should be the parity price and what should be the alternative price for that fuel? So here we can see these negative values means here at these values, this type of contribution will not be significantly uh, break even. So if we want to get the break even prices, so here between 50 to 60 billion dollar barrel prices will be the break even prices for this type of contribution. And similarly, here in the gap also you can see negative values that indicates that this fuel economically will not be viable. Here also that 9% contribution at these prices, this fuel will not economically viable. The positive values shows that at this point, at this billion barrels production of this biodiesel production, this fuel will be economically viable, and we can be higher than the break-even prices, or we can get some revenue, we can get some benefit, we can get some benefits and revenue from this biodiesel production or bioenergy production. Okay, this is policies which should be support of bioenergy production from biomass. That which type of policies or which type of support should be there from the government sides. For example, biofuel blending obligation that should be mandatory. For example, in US and in Brazil, and there are different type of agencies which are basically regulating these type of rules and mandates. For example, in USA, 20% and 30% and 10% blends of the biofuels or bioenergy, or sorry, bioethanol, they should be mixed with gasoline and before feeding in the car, before utilizing by the industrial sector. So these type of obligations should be from the government side, and from some the obligations body from the governmental agencies. They should support these type of policies. But unfortunately in Pakistan, we don't have any biofuel blending obligation, and we don't have any these type of policies to support the utilization and motivation for bioenergy generation. Second is the excise duty exemption. Excise duty exemption basically, for example, in Pakistan, if we are going to install some type of biorefining or bioenergy based industry, then of course we have to reduce the tax on this, because tax rate and import tax rate, tariffs production is very high in Pakistan. Again, the tariff protection is some type of the discounts given by the energy agencies of Pakistan or energy agencies of the related country, and crops, feedstock, and subsidies. For example, if some agriculturist, he has a big lands and he wants to grow these type of feedstocks, for example, cassava, for example, corn, and for example, sugarcane is being utilized by bioethanol production industry, and some agriculturist has a big lands and he wants to grow these type of veggie crops on his lands for the production of biofuels. So government should provide some type of subsidies. Government should provide some discounts on electricity utilization, some discounts on fertilizer use, some discounts on water availability to that farmer. So if this type of subsidies will be provided from the governmental bodies, then of course this biorefining sector can be flourished, can be developed in our country also. R&D and investment supports, research and development budgets are not there, are not in support to develop some different processes. For example, also in different biodiesel production and biorefining sector, there are many things which need to be further focused, which needs to be further discussed. But due to the lack of funds, due to the lack of infrastructure related with the research and development, this type of work cannot be done. Fuel standards, some fuel standards, for example, ethanol is being produced in a country, biodiesel is being produced, syngas is being produced. So there should be some fuel standards that should be in terms of the regulation and in terms of the building of the competitiveness by the different agencies. These are some of the different drivers that how US becomes the leader of ethanol production in US, because ethanol is highly being produced. Oil prices are increased in US, and fuel tax incentives for ethanol blends are being reduced. Sudden replacement of methyl butyl ether with ethanol in 2006, it was being mandated due to the pollution worries. So government has basically made a significant contribution to adopt biofuel bioenergy production on commercial scale. Renewable fuel standards were made 2007, increase of the RFS to 22 billion gallons by 2022, of which 15 billions to come from the carbon by 2012. Tariff protections were provided by the government. These are the also picture that is basically defining subsidies provided at different points in the biofuel supply chain. For example, biofuel and biorefinery industry, they are also producing different bioproducts, and this one different type of processes which are being involved, like labor, like capital, like water, like energy, and energy feedstock cost. So production and consumption. So a lot of other value added and small scale industries are being linked with this biorefining industry. Some impacts on agriculture markets. Of course, if we grow these agriculture crops like miscanthus, like cassava, like sugarcane, and like corn, then of course we will also have some competition of these energy crops. So this term is energy crops basically is used for those crops which are being utilized for bioenergy production. And as you know, there are also a lot of thousands of other crops, agriculture crops, which have direct linkage with our food supply system. Like wheat, we use for making roti, like rice, we use like by rice, everybody knows. So also sugarcane is a main product to produce sugar. And sugar beet is also a main product. Corn is a main resource for as a fodder crop in Pakistan for using for animal, for using for livestock. So there are also some impacts. There will be some impacts on agriculture markets. So these impacts are very important to understand when we are going to flourish or when we are going for the biorefining fractionation concepts. The first term is called the floor and ceiling price effect. So what is the floor and ceiling price effect is basically agriculture prices always affected by energy crops, by energy prices. For example, as you know, nowadays we have a lot of agriculture commodities prices which have been increased. For example, tomato, potato, and onions, these prices even 100, 200, and some, I think we have also purchased onions at 300 rupees per kilogram in Pakistan. So this is also because of the some victims of the floods, and we are facing a lot of other problems. But still, energy prices always affecting the agriculture prices. Initially, larging through the higher impact and input prices, but as fossil fuels energy prices reach or exceeds the energy equivalent of the agriculture products. High energy prices now affecting the output prices, of course. So floor price is the minimum price, basically. Floor price is the minimum price. I think it's next slide. This concept is here. Okay. Floor price is the minimum price of any agriculture commodity that is being available in the whole year. For example, if we are using corn to produce ethanol, then what will be the minimum price of corn crop during the year? And what will be the highest price of that corn during that year in a specific region, in a specific country? So this is basically called floor price and ceiling price. Of course, the lowest price will definitely boost the biorefining industry, but highest prices, if the prices will be the ceiling prices, then maybe this process will not be economically competitive. It will not be economically viable. Similarly, also another term is called elastic prices. Elastic prices means these are some type of prices in which competitiveness of agriculture feedstocks, energy markets creates a floor price for agriculture products. For example, if corn is used by ethanol to produce enough ethanol, and similarly, corn is also utilized by livestock industry, by poultry sector. So what will happen if some farmers will sell their corn for production of ethanol, and so the price of that corn will becomes higher for the poultry sector. So ultimately we will face higher prices for the poultry sector. We have to pay more money to purchase chicken if we are getting the low priced ethanol production from the corn. So this is basically called the elasticity demands in the prices. So on the whole, the system becomes very complex. For example, fossil fuel prices also create a ceiling for competitive feedstocks, whose prices cannot rise faster than the energy prices without pricing themselves out of energy market. Flooring and ceiling prices together create a price corridor for agriculture products. Market integration is not competence, it is not complete in practice due to the logistical and technical problems. So these are the basically some. Also, there is a fourth term that is called differential price effects on agriculture markets. For example, food prices increase will neither open-ended nor uniform. For example, we can face that tomato prices, sometimes it is below 100 rupees per kilo, and sometimes it is 200 or 300 rupees per kilo. So this is basically called differential price effect. Similarly, if energy crops will be used for biorefining sector, then food prices will be highly fluctuating and they will face a lot of differential prices because the end consumer of the bioenergy crop is not one, they are more than one. For example, someone want to buy for the production of poultry feed, someone want to buy for the production of corn oil, and someone wants to buy to produce ethanol. So if in the market there are multiple users of one crop, then ultimately its prices will be very differentials. So it is very difficult or very complex to control these prices, to control these differential prices. So differential prices, if this phenomena is very low, then definitely we are going to control these markets. Poverty, similarly, this is a small concept of CSA. CSA is climate smart agriculture, and this is basically a cumulative combination terms, which is cumulatively spoken for sustainable agriculture and for resilience crops, reduced minus emission factors. Climate smart agriculture is a concept basically in which energy crops are being grown with the minimum inputs and with sustainable resources. For example, cassava, or for example, miscanthus, or for example, jatropha are being grown on that lands which are barren lands, which don't have any competitiveness with the food supply system. So if we deal like this, and if we follow this model of climate smart agriculture, then definitely ceiling price, floors price, and differential price effects can be controlled. What are the opportunities to deliver like productivity, resilience, and emission? If we are going to consider these three factors are across North America, North Europe, Asia, and Middle East, and across the different continents, then definitely we can make a sustainable production of energy crops across the world. For example, I'm talking about the Africa. Africa have a lot of barren lands, and we can grow energy crops on African lands. Okay, so these type of crops grown on that continent will not make a competition with agriculture crops. But for example, in Pakistan, I will say there is a region which is rice producing region in Asia. That is Gujranwala, Sialkot, and Daska, and Hafzabad. These four districts are very famous in Pakistan for the production of rice. If we are going to grow energy crops in that region, that will not be competitive because rice prices will becomes very high, or rice crops will severely face some type of competition with food supply system. So energy crops must be grown on that lands which are barren, which don't have any competitiveness with the food supply system, are main staple agriculture crops. Sustainability is some concept of the sustainability of biofuels, how biofuels are sustainable, depending upon social, it produce employment, it making a land issues, it should not produce land issues that we have discussed now. Smallholder integration, food security. Of course, food security should be the main concern rather than concerning the energy security. Environmental, considering the environmental factors, greenhouse gas emissions and air quality, soil quality, water use and quality, biodiversity, and considering the economics terms, energy security, self-sufficiency, balance of payments, financing, and fuel costs. So these are the basically economic considerations of the biofuels. So on the whole, we have to develop some type of sustainable system that is being attracted by the business-based communities across the world, across the Pakistan. From biomass to advanced biofuels and bioproducts, some different bioproducts can also be achieved from biomass, depending upon the utilization of sustainability concepts, that we can grow some biomass developments, develop different crops with the cell was optimized for the deconstruction and conversion to biofuels, and thermal by breakdown in improving the enzymes, the ethanol can be produced. This is basically a revision of the basic concepts of how to produce biofuels from biomasses. This is also some of the beautiful picture that is basically involved physiochemical and chemical pretreatment for the production of ethanol. Basically, this picture is for the production of ethanol. Different biomass and agricultural crops are being utilized by using solar energy. Different sugars, monomers, and intermediate molecules are being produced, and then these type of molecules can be directly converted into biofuels. Of course, we have discussed a lot of advantages of biofuel production, like they have carbon fixation property, they act as carbon sinks, because trees and agriculture, forest, agriculture based production, they basically acts as a carbon sink from the atmosphere. They absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and they convert this carbon dioxide into energy. Like the fossil fuels, what they have done, fossil fuels are buried in the soil surface since thousands of years, and they basically capture, they basically a mixture of capture of carbon dioxide since many thousands years, and now they are transformed into a sustainable system of energy. And similarly, biofuel has a lot of advantages. If their price is high, if their price is ceiling prices, so definitely they are cheaper, they can be utilized, they can reduce carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, but similarly, they also have some disadvantages like regional suitability. For example, I told you the example of rice production. Rice production region in Pakistan cannot be a suitable region for production of energy crops, because they have no barren lands, they have no other lands to produce these type of crops. So they are very much regional suitable. For example, energy crops can be grown on that lands which are not in competition with biofuel production. Similarly, food security. Food security, we have discussed that food security will be in severe threat if we are going to adopt bioenergy on commercial scale. Land use change. Land use change, for example, if some type of crop, for example, wheat is growing on some lands for 20 years, then it is very difficult for those farmers to grow energy crops, because these crops have some different patterns, some different requirements, some different type of biological inputs are there. So it is very difficult to adopt these changes. Impacts on biodiversity, where the same thing, because they are not diversible. They need a lot of changes, they need a lot of other things, they need a lot of different type of fertilizers, they need different types of biological phases that are going to be involved in that type of crops, and unfortunately our farmers are not very much willing to grow these type of crops. So they sometimes also cause global warming. This is one of the municipal solid waste to energy treatment plant. Maybe you think that this is very beautiful building. This beautiful building is in Shenzhen, and that is basically waste to energy power plant in Shenzhen. I have personally visited this power plant when I was in China, and when we see it from the atmosphere, we can see that this is some type of business complex or some type of very beautiful mall, I think. But inside, this is basically a waste treatment facility. This is Shenzhen East Waste to Treatment Facility, and it is producing 165 megawatt power production under the construction in Shenzhen. That is located in China, Guangdong in China. This is the promise. And it can burn 56
100 tons of municipal solid waste every day. All the waste of Shenzhen is being collected and transported to this facility. And this type of energy through the process of gasification and pyrolysis, to the process of incineration. Incineration process is there, and this type of energy, this significant amount of energy is being produced, and this energy is being sold to the market. And Shenzhen is also utilizing that power that is being produced from the waste of that city, produced waste of that city. Also, this is also another picture of a power production, also in Kwangtung province. This is also a waste treatment facility, and you can see this is how sustainable and beautiful system of treating waste. But unfortunately, in Pakistan, we have not been involved in this type of production, waste to energy production facilities. In Lahore, I think one project was launched by Shabazz Sharif back in 10, 12 years back, but it was not much, it was not sustainable. It has not been fully matured by Lahore waste management agencies. I was asking their delegation, I think last 2 months before I have contacted them, when I have inquired that what is going on this waste treatment facility of Lahore, but it is not going to be installed right now due to the um, improper management, due to the lack of sufficiencies, due to corruption, due to many factors in Pakistan. But world is going ahead in production of bioenergy from waste, even not from the biomass resources. The waste production streams can also be achieved by utilizing waste of that cities. In Karachi, there is a waste management handling is a big issue, but we cannot manage even the waste of metropolitan cities of Pakistan. This is another waste to treatment facility, waste to energy production power plant in Vasa. This is a city in Finland, and you can see how beautiful it is. And they are collecting waste from different cities of Finland and bringing to the facility and incinerating that waste and producing energy. Global biodiesel and bioethanol production, and you can see in US and Europe is the leader in ethanol production. US is the leader in ethanol production, and the production is 7.7 million barrels of the ethanol. That is 60% of around, and then about 60% of whole world bioethanol production is being made by the US alone, followed by Brazil, which are the biggest producer of Brazil, and it has contribution of 28.5% Brazil production. Similarly, this is also bioethanol and biodiesel. These are the two. And you can see India is also coming ahead in production of bioethanol or biodiesel. But in Pakistan and in other parts of the world, we can see that we don't have much facilities for this type of bioenergy production. And it is a very big bioethanol and biodiesel production fractionation is a very big commercial scale industry. And in Pakistan, we need to work a lot on this. And this is a very virgin field. And somebody, if they want to invest in this field, but of course, there are many complications. There are policies are there, which have been developed by Alternative Energy Development Board, AEDB, and Ministry of Energy. But these policies are not in place to that some financer is there and he want to work in this area. So he will feel a lot of problems of many things. So unfortunately, we have to make these things in very clarity, so that this type of industry can also be developed in Pakistan. Thank you very much, and very much welcome for all the questions.
Ji, thank you so much, sir. It was really a wonderful presentation. We have a question from Ali Raza. He's asking what is the best ways to energy system that should be implemented here in Pakistan?
What are the best ways?
To energy system that should be implemented here in Pakistan. You can see his question in chat box as well. Would you check the chat box?
Okay. Yes, I have visited this chat box.
What is the best ways to energy system?
Hmm?
What is the best
Can
way?
we do cogeneration is also there?
So
Yes. Just wait a minute. I will reply. Yes. Okay. What is the best waste to energy system that could be implemented here in Pakistan? I think it depends that I'm not getting that which type of waste you are, what is the term, this best waste? Why you are using this term best waste? What do you mean by best waste? Hello, Ali Raza. I think Ali Raza has asked this question.
yes, sir. But I think maybe he just wanna ask that we should implement inflation, gasification, or something like that. Maybe.
Okay. Okay. So first, I think there are many different concepts of waste to energy production system. Basically, municipal solid waste and biomass waste, they directly can be burned together in a waste to treatment facility anywhere in Pakistan. It can be implemented. I think for the big cities and for the major cities of Pakistan like Karachi, Lahore, Faisalabad, even in Islamabad nowadays is waste management is very serious issue nowadays for the waste management handling agencies. The best way is to that directly in Islamabad also here, right, because we are living in Nust and Nust is S12. Our nearest sector is I12. And in Islamabad, all the waste of Islamabad since 20-30 years is being dumped in I12. So if we directly install a small waste to treatment facility here in Islamabad and directly we burn this municipal solid waste, and we can produce a lot of energy from that waste also. It should be implemented, I think, to develop any new housing societies, because housing society development and flourishing concept nowadays is very famous in all cities, even Lahore, in Karachi, even in Faisalabad, even in Islamabad. For example, licensing of those housing authorities, they should be issued in that situation that you will install your own waste management and handling facility over there. So a lot of waste can be managed by this way also. But biorefining is a different concept. For example, you want to produce ethanol, you want to produce biodiesel, then definitely you have to install a full-scale refinery, and then you have to make a full-scale logistics, full-scale. You have to inquire, you have to procure a lot of crops like ethanol, like corn, like cassava, miscanthus, sugarcane, sugar beet. You have to make a logistic supply chain for those agencies. These are the different systems, but at least for the waste management point of concern, we must have to install these type of systems even in every cities of Pakistan. Otherwise, this waste management issue in coming decade, in coming 10-20 years will be very alarming for us.
Okay, sir. And we have another question that can we do co-digestion of MSW and vegetable oil?
Yes, we can co-digestion of vegetable oils for production of biodiesel. No. For biodiesel production, we use vegetable oil that is not edible. If it will be edible, then it will have competition with food supply. But digestion is a different concept. Digestion is basically, it can be anaerobic digestion or it can be a pyrolysis process. Municipal solid waste and vegetable oil, they cannot be mixed together to produce biodiesel. This is not possible. Also for ethanol, bioethanol, it is not possible. Municipal solid waste can be burnt to produce electrical power through incineration process. And vegetable oil will be can be converted into biodiesel through the process of trans-esterification. These are the basically different processes.
Well, okay. So if anyone have any question, you can ask here or you can type it
Yes.
with chat box as well. In the meanwhile, you can send your queries at Energydex official email or maybe directly contact trainers as well. There's an announcement for participants that the presentation of this webinar will be available on the website of EnergyDex, and the recording will also be available on the official YouTube channel of EnergyDex. Yes, so I think, sir, we will wait for 1 or 2 minutes that if anyone has questions, they can ask. So I think we don't have any questions. I just want to ask one question from you, from my side.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So, okay, we know that we have a capacity, we have a lot of potential of bio waste. For example, we have a lot of agricultural waste, municipal solid waste as well. But what do you think? What is the main barrier that why we are not utilizing that potential for the production of energy? I mean, what are the main barrier?
Main barrier, yes. I think main barrier in Pakistan is the social barrier.
Yeah, and what do you think
Yes.
about supply chain management?
Yes, yes, I'm explaining. I will little bit explain it to you. The main barrier, I think, is the social barrier, and the second barrier is the policy barrier. Policies from the government sides and from the governmental bodies and agencies are not clear. If the policies were for example, for biodiesel production, in 2007, National Biodiesel Program was launched by Ministry of Energy. I think that is a different section that deals with at petrol productions, that is OGDCL type of agencies, which is working under Ministry of Energy. Okay, we leave that. In 2007, National Biodiesel Program was launched. That and a lot of lands in Sindh that was barren lands, they were also inquired. They were different procurement of the land was also made to grow jatropha crop. Jatropha basically is a non-edible oil containing crop, and the basic concept was that we will grow jatropha and then we will harvest the seed of jatropha, then we will do the extraction process and extract the oil, then through the transesterification process we will convert this oil into biodiesel. And PSO was also on board. Pakistan State Oil was also on board in this project. And PSO was informed that you are going to implement at your petrol and pumping stations. You will make some obligations that if some vehicle is coming and they need a diesel, so they will get 80% diesel and 20% biodiesel. So different blends were made, and these blends should be injected into the auto vehicles. This program was made in 2007. But again, in 2012 or 13, this program was closed. I don't know what was happened. I was also a visiting member of in one conference. There was a clean fuel bio conference in last year held in Ministry of Energy. I was there. I also asked this question that why you have closed this national biodiesel program. But they say that procurement of land was not transparent, corruption was there, PSO was not willing to make obligations of biodiesel blending with fossil fuel diesel. And so this type of issues was there. I don't know what was happening. Some governmental policies, governmental bodies are not interested to develop these type of resources, these type of indigenous resources of Pakistan. They have a huge potential to make biodiesel. Also for ethanol, we have a huge potential. We have a lot of molasses which is being dumped on the barren lands, and we are not making a fermentation of those molasses, and we are getting ethanol, and we are not involving that ethanol into our biocircular economy, bioenergy based circular economy. The main is the social barrier. I think people are also not willing. For example, if we talk about biogas production is very simple and very simple process. It can be utilized, and especially for the rural scale areas, it is very much attractive. But what the political people do, for example, if one person is MNA, one person is MPA, he goes to that village, he pressurized sui gas or sui gas based supply companies. He pressurized that company and asked them that you can make a supply for the rural area. एंड आप देख सकते हैं राइट नाउ देहातों के अंदर भी सुई गैस की जो सप्लाई है दैट इज अवेलेबल. इफ सुई गैस सप्लाई और नेचुरल गैस सप्लाई इज अवेलेबल इन विलेजेस, देन who will care for biogas? Because biogas production and feeding is a complex process. You have to employ 1 or 2% to handle that bioreactor,
you have to make a process safety and feeding and then dilution, and then you have to collect the digestate, then add in fertilizer. So people are very lazy. All of them, they have gases at their rural site, so they are not willing to adopt biogas as a primary resource of energy. So these type of basically social gaps, political gaps are there.
Yeah.
That's why. Otherwise, if we basically focus on these resources from biogas, bioethanol, biodiesel, and waste to energy, municipal solid waste incineration, we can reduce at least half of the electrical power. That is basically the demand of whole country. For example, if our demand is 25,000 megawatt, we can produce more than 15,000 megawatts from these resources. But people are not willing. Political bodies are not willing. Socially, we as a nation are not willing to adopt this technology.
Well, thank you, sir. It means we need to work a lot of things at a government level. Yeah. So, sir, we have another question.
Yes.
So it's a question that.
How we can control C/N ratio of organic waste, because it is one of the most critical factor in anaerobic digester. We can control it. There is basically if we are using municipal solid waste, organic waste. I think this is purely a research-based question that Ali Raza is asking about the C/N ratio. I have, if Ali Raza, if you are interested and you can share your email, I have worked a lot during my master and doctoral study. I have published more than 40 papers in which C/N control of the anaerobic digestion has been made. I will send you that papers. You can go through, and even if you have some questions, you can directly write an email to me and I will respond to you, no problem. But C/N is very simple to control. It's not a big task.
Okay, so I think we don't have any more question. So, sir, I think, G. So we don't have any question. So it's all from our side. इंशाल्लाह अभी बहुत शुक्रिया सर आपका टाइम देने का, और आज के जितने भी पार्टिसिपेंट्स थे उनका भी बहुत शुक्रिया. Okay, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Shaukat Saab. Thank you very much.
Sir, sorry, we have another question from Abdul Rahman. That what young entrepreneur projects does UNIDO financing, and where I can find the details of these projects?
And where it can find the details of these projects?
Well, sir,
yes, I think Shaukat Saab can answer better than I think this question.
Sorry, UNIDO. Yes, sir. Sorry.
I think Shaukat Saab, आप आंसर करें इसको. UNIDO फाइनेंसेस के बारे में क्वेश्चन है.
बेसिकली अगर आप एंटरप्रेन्योर्स के प्रोजेक्ट्स की बात करें तो यूनिडो को डिफरेंट स्कीम्स हैं जो फाइनेंसिंग की भी हैं, वो आती हैं, लेकिन इन दी मेन वाइल जो मेन आपको फाइनेंसिंग मिलती है वो डिफरेंट डोनर एजेंसी से मिलती है. यूनिडो उसको एग्जीक्यूट करवाता है. फॉर एग्जांपल जैसे कुछ प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं वो ग्लोबल एनवायरनमेंट फैसिलिटी से, ग्लोबल क्लाइमेट फंड से मिलते हैं आपको, ठीक है. सो आप उसकी ऑफिशियल वेबसाइट पे जाके देखें. अभी स्टिल कुछ प्रोजेक्ट्स चल रहे हैं जिसमें फाइनेंस कर रहे हैं कि अभी एंटरप्रेन्योर है और उनकी किस तरह की प्रोडक्ट है जो ग्रीन फाइनेंसिंग के ऊपर है, ग्रीन उनकी ओवरऑल जो आउटपुट है दैट शुड बी अ ग्रीन और रिन्यूएबल. उसकी बिहाफ के ऊपर वो एंटरप्रेन्योर्स को कुछ फंडिंग जो है वो प्रोवाइड करते हैं, ठीक है जी. What kind of projects UNIDO finance to the young entrepreneurs and where we can get the information? अभी मैंने आपको बताया कि आप इनकी ऑफिशियल वेबसाइट पे ग्लोबल क्लाइमेट फंड के ऊपर और ग्लोबल एनवायरनमेंट फैसिलिटी के ऊपर जाके चेक कीजिएगा, उनकी डिटेल्स अवेलेबल हैं. और प्रीवियसली जो भी प्रोजेक्ट को उन्होंने फाइनेंस किया है उसकी भी डिटेल्स अवेलेबल हैं. उनकी स्लॉट्स होती हैं, आप उनको रेगुलरली चेक किया करें उनकी ऑफिशियल वेबसाइट्स को, तो आपको ना हो जाएगी कि उनकी कौन कौन से जो प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं या कौन कौन सी फाइनेंसिंग स्कीम्स हैं जो अवेलेबल हैं या इन फ्यूचर वो आएंगी, ठीक है. जी सर, आई थिंक वी डोंट हैव एनी क्वेश्चन. अगर आपके पास कोई और भी क्वेश्चन है तो आप एनर्जी डेस्क के ऑफिशियल ईमेल के ऊपर भी हमें क्वेश्चन कर सकते हैं, या जो एनर्जी डेस्क का ऑफिशियल हमारा वेबसाइट है उसके ऊपर भी क्वेरी का टैब अवेलेबल है. आप उस क्वेरी के ऊपर भी जाके अपने जो क्वेश्चन है उनको मेंशन कर सकते हैं, तो हम इंशाल्लाह उनको रिस्पॉन्ड कर देंगे विद इन अ वीक. Okay, sir. Thank you so much for your time and thank you all.
Thank you.
Here
Thank
with
you,
us.
Shokar Saab. Thank you, Shokar Saab. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for your time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.